that the Astroworld tragedy should result in Travis Scott being canceled? Go ahead and comment below if you think that Travis Scott is responsible for the deaths and the injuries that occurred during Astroworld. We're going to get into my thoughts and all the ways that Travis Scott has already been canceled due to the Astroworld tragedy in just a moment. But for those of you who are new here, let me introduce myself. My name is Boss Attorney Bree, and on my channel, I teach business owners how to make sure that their business is legal and legit. And I also discuss how celebrities and influencers are running businesses that are not legal and legit. So if you are interested in that type of content, make sure you subscribe and like this video, and let's get right into it. We're going to be discussing everything from his funeral expenses being rejected, his criminal investigation, deals being canceled, and what to kind of expect with all of this stuff happening because of what happened at Astroworld. So let's jump right into it. All right, so let's get into the background of this situation. For those of you who do not know, Travis Scott is an American rap artist who recently had a music festival called Astroworld, which is named after his famous album, Astroworld. He held this festival in Houston, and there were approximately 50,000 people at the event during the time of the festival. Before the event even started, there were a bunch of people without tickets that rushed into the event. So it is unclear whether there were actually 50,000 people at the event because they did not count the tickets. Anyways, during the show, once Travis came onto the stage, the crowd started to surge severely, which resulted in a bunch of people getting hurt because people were being trampled, and it also resulted in 10 deaths. Some people died at the festival and other people passed away from their injuries a few days later. This included a 9-year-old boy who was at the concert with his father. Additionally, many of the concert goers and many of the people that passed away were very young. The ages of the people that passed away ranged from age 9 up to age 27. As a result of the crowd surging and all of the people rushing, there were a bunch of people that were injured. And of course, as I just stated, there were people that passed away and loved ones that want their rights to be heard in this incident. So the people that were injured and some of the people that went to the concert went ahead and filed lawsuits against Travis Scott, Cactus Jack Records, Live Nation, and other organizers, wanting to hold them at fault for the injuries that they suffered during the tragic event. They are claiming negligence, and I am pretty sure that the people that passed away, their families will be claiming wrongful death. There are currently over 300 lawsuits that have been filed against them, naming different organizers, more or less organizers, but mostly naming Travis Scott to be held liable for the tragic events of this festival. There are approximately 1,250 plaintiffs in these lawsuits. Now that we have the background covered, let's kind of get into what is happening to Travis Scott in this moment, because he is suffering from consequences from the result of this tragic incident. In other words, some might say that he is being canceled. So let's start with the first thing. Many of the families have rejected Travis Scott's offer to pay for the funeral expenses of the people that passed away. He publicly announced that he will be paying for the funeral expenses of the people that passed away, and it has been reported that about half of them have already rejected his offer to go ahead and pay for the funeral expenses. This includes the 9-year-old boy that passed away. Many of the families felt like the offer was demeaning and just done in the wrong way. They didn't understand why he needed to announce it to the public. Why did he need to do a press release to let people know that he was willing to pay for the funeral expenses? Either way it goes, the family does not want his money. Their main goal is to make sure that this, one, never happens again, and also to get fair compensation. One of the reasons why Travis Scott may be offering to pay for the funeral expenses because they will be a lot less than if a court found that he was guilty or liable for the injuries that they sustained. They would be awarded millions in a lawsuit of that nature if they can prove their injuries and prove that Travis Scott was responsible. But if he only pays for their funeral expenses, they will be about maybe $10,000 to $20,000, depending on what type of funeral that they have. And they will be left with trying to cope mentally with the loss of their loved ones. And for the people with injuries, not being able to live their lives the same that they would have lived before this happened, because some people have broken bones, some people are suffering mentally, and they have all kinds of injuries that, one, he did not offer to pay the people that were injured. He actually offered to do some type of the BetterHelp therapy, which is not the best online therapy. And Travis Scott is probably getting a kickback from that deal. And for the people that passed away, they have other expenses to cover. And just paying for funeral costs will not necessarily make up for what they lost by losing their loved one. So in other words, going through with the lawsuit will get them fairly compensated. And on top of that, they are seeking for there to be laws put into place so that this cannot happen again. Basically a crowd control type of law. And that's way more important to them than having their funeral expenses paid. Also, offering the funeral costs will not likely make people feel like Travis Scott was actually held accountable. He needs to go through these lawsuits. We need to find out if he's liable, and we need to get laws put into place so that this does not happen at another concert. It was also reported that Travis Scott did not make a personal phone call or anything like that when offering to pay for these funeral expenses. His attorney just sent a letter to the family letting them know that they will be paying for the funeral expenses, and if they need any help to reach out to them. And then he also made the press release, which made the families feel like he wasn't really sincere in offering the funeral costs. He was more trying to save his image and lessen the public outcry, is what one of the families said. So not only is he having lawsuits filed against him, he's having the family not want to take his deal to pay for their funeral costs, because that's what it necessarily would be. The next thing that I want to talk about is the fact that he is starting to lose deals by this Astroworld tragedy, because companies do not want to be associated with this, especially if he is found to be held liable. And the fact that he is trying to make it seem like he's not liable, which we'll get into in a second. So one thing Nike is always sure to do is align themselves with people that they want to represent their brand. Travis Scott actually had a shoe coming out with Nike that was supposed to be released on December 16th. The shoe is called Air Max 1X Cactus Jack. I don't know if I'm saying that right. If it's supposed to be 1x Cactus Jack, but it is an Air Max 1 shoe, and it was supposed to release on December 16th. Nike actually postponed the release date, and they have not given a new date until when it is supposed to be released. The reason why they likely pushed back the release date is because there's a lot going on with the Astroworld tragedy. It is most likely that they don't want to align themselves with someone that is under wraps. And they also don't want to be insensitive to the families that have lost people and for the people that are suffering from injuries and their families watching them suffer from injuries. So I do think that is a good move by Nike to go ahead and postpone the release date. And heck, they might even want to cancel the release date, but we'll see how that goes as we move further into the future and we get deeper into this case. The next thing probably leading to Travis Scott's cancellation is the fact that a criminal investigation has been launched against him. Houston Police Department and the FBI is looking into whether Travis Scott and Live Nation are criminally liable for the things that took place at Astroworld. They could be finding that they are criminally negligent, they can be criminally reckless, or they could have incited a crowd. There are so many things that they can find that will hold Travis Scott and Live Nation criminally liable, especially because Live Nation has already been involved with issues of their concerts going wrong and people getting hurt. And also Travis Scott has been involved in situations where people have gotten hurt at his concerts. He has been charged with criminal liability before for inciting the crowd to go crazy. And he has a history of making his crowd go crazy and wanting them to rush the stage and things like that. So that is probably why they are looking into those criminal responsibilities, because this has happened one too many times by these people. There have not been any charges brought so far, and maybe this is why what I mentioned earlier is that he is trying to make it seem like he is not liable. Travis Scott and his lawyer has actually filed a petition with the court to dismiss the case with prejudice so that 11 of the cases could not go forward as a lawsuit, alleging that he was not liable to those people in those lawsuits that suffered injuries at Astroworld. So he's trying to relieve some of the pressure off of him, because if a criminal investigation is brought forward, he could be found liable for things he were found liable in a civil lawsuit for. So it can go either way. He can be either liable civilly, not liable criminally, or he can be liable criminally and not civilly, or he could be liable both ways, or he could be not liable both ways. So he's going to try to get rid of as many lawsuits as he can to try to make himself look a little better within the criminal lawsuit. All right, so what can happen moving forward for Travis Scott? Is he going to be canceled? Is he going to redeem himself? One of the things that I think may come to light, or things that may happen with Travis Scott regarding his cancellation over Astroworld, is that he's probably going to continue to lose deals, which means he's going to continue to lose money. I heard that he has some collaborations with Dior and Fortnite. Those companies may also seek to postpone any interaction with him or any products or any releases with him, or they may continue to go forward. But my best thought, in my opinion, is that they are going to hold off with moving forward with him being a sponsor of their brand, because they're likely to face so much backlash, because this event was just ridiculous and we need to find out whether he is liable or not. The next thing that is going to be brought to light a little bit more is the lawsuits moving forward. Are the wrongful death lawsuits going to be filed? Are the negligence lawsuits going to be moving forward? Are the emotional distress lawsuits going to be moving forward? I think a lot of people are going to be paying attention to this case, because this was a tragic event and should not be happening in 2021. And I think that the public will be very upset if the attorneys and the courts decide that this is not a case that should be in civil court, and if they decide that it is not a case that should be in criminal court. I think it's going to be a very substantial case in determining whether production of a concert makes you liable for the people that are buying tickets to see you at your concert. Next, going forward with the criminal liability of Travis Scott is determining whether he's going to also be criminally liable in these lawsuits. I think a big part of what's going to happen is people want to know if he is going to get in trouble, and whether him getting in trouble is going to lead to him being canceled. So far, it doesn't necessarily seem like he's canceled. He's still kind of doing his own thing and still being famous. And I know it's hard to cancel people because there's always going to be extreme fans, but all of this stuff is going to have an impact on his career. We just have to see if it's going to be super bad or if it's going to be super good for him, and then also if it's going to be good for concert goers or super bad for concert goers, because we're going to find out whether your artists and the people that put on the production for concerts have to keep you safe. And my thought is they need to keep you safe if they're inviting you to a concert and you're paying to be safe. And as the whole purpose of this video, I do think that Travis Scott is going to have a decline in his popularity, because he is literally denying liability before we can even really see what case law is being cited, what injuries people have, and if you should really just be a good person because you let all these people get hurt. I think also that he stands to lose a lot in these lawsuits. He stands to lose a lot civilly if he has to pay 1,250 people money for injuries on top of the 10 people's wrongful death lawsuits that are probably coming. He is probably gonna go bankrupt. Him and his company, Cactus Jack, is probably gonna go bankrupt trying to pay off all of these people. So I think he stands a lot to lose a lot of money. And then on top of that, I think that he stands to lose a lot of endorsements based on this tragedy that happened, all the injuries that happened, all the lives lost that has happened, all the people that are suffering from losing their young loved ones. I think that it could bankrupt him if the court is going to find that he is civilly liable. Also, with the criminal liability, could result in jail time this time. He might not get probation. It has become kind of a thing that Travis Scott is known for. And as we saw during the concert, he didn't stop the concert. So this was something that was normal for him. He continued to play on for, they say, 37 minutes because he wanted the crowd to be rowdy. So I think it's going to be pretty hard for him to say, hey, I didn't know what was going on, when there were ambulances coming everywhere and there was people jumping on the stage telling him to stop the show and people were shooing them away. I think he is going to have quite a lot of liability. We have to separate him from an artist and him as a business for putting on the show. And when you're a business, you are probably going to be liable. If you were just an artist hired to perform at a show, you're less likely to be liable. But in my opinion, I think that the cases should go forward. Go ahead and comment what you think should happen in this situation. If you've watched it all the way to the end of this video, go ahead and drop a purple heart in the comment section. And make sure to subscribe to my channel if you are not already subscribed. I will see you in the next video. Please let me know if there is anything else that you would like me to cover on this channel. And if you want me to keep up with this case, giving you my opinion on the case. I'll see you in the next video.